And you mentioning Islam and that becoming a strong foundation with you, get into how you got into practicing Islam.
Man, it started. I would say it had to start with my childhood. Like I say, I come from a Christian family, but none of my family was churchgoers. You know what I'm saying? Probably the one person that went to church in my family was my great grandma. Um, my grandma, she was, she left South Carolina to go up to Brooklyn and go up to New Haven, Connecticut for some years, and supporting her kids back, my mom and my uncles back down here. When she came back, most Southerners are very, very faith based strong. You know what I'm saying? So especially the women. But I think the last time I went to church was from the age 5 or 6 until 16. So it was a big gap for me not going to church.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that it just, my family wasn't churchgoers, So and at that time in my house, like I said, been raised by a single mother, we had no pictures inside the house. You know what I'm saying? We had just bare walls. And I remember me and my brother had a big discussion about God. I'm 6 years old trying to debate a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. And I was like, if there's a God, like he would put us in slavery. And, and I'm like fussing with the whole household, and no one never gave me a clear answer that really satisfied that statement I said. If it was God, like why he would put us in slavery. You know what I'm saying? I've kind of thought about like, what made me think that? And moving on, when I got to, and I'm hearing a name like Malcolm X, like my sister was in 6th, 7th grade, and I guess it was Black History Month, and I was probably like in 3rd or 4th grade, and I thought it was saying Malcolm X and not Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, who is Malcolm X? Malcolm X? Something like Mad Max or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so that was just words that you would hear, names you would hear, and fast forward to that. The thing that really turned me on was Spike Lee movie Malcolm X, the movie. And I actually was in 6th grade or 7th grade. I was in 7th grade when that movie came out. And, we went to the movie theater to see it as a class. And I think that's when it really opened my eyes up, just the character of Malcolm X itself. And going back to being young, 6 years old, and not having any pictures on my wall in my mom's house. One night we walked to Kmart because we didn't have a car there, so we had to walk and catch the city bus around Columbia. So we walked to Kmart one time, and they saw the picture of Jesus, and my mom ended up purchasing the picture of Jesus, a really big pictures of Jesus, and that was a Friday night. And she hung the picture up, and that's the only picture we had inside the house.
Really?
And, like I said, this wasn't a church-going house. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only picture we had of anything in the house. You go to my great-grandma's house, she got 3 pictures, Jesus, JFK, and Martin Luther King, But inside our house, it was that big picture of Jesus. And me, my sister, and my mother was sitting at the table one night, and they're like, "Oh, did you see the eyes move on that picture?" I'm like looking at the picture the whole time. I did not see the eyes move. I'm just being a realist. I'm just being straight up real. And I'm like, okay, it wasn't the matter of a white guy being pinned to my wall, but I'm like who is this dude? You know what I'm saying? Like who this guy is really. And around that time I had those questions, I was, Malcolm X movie came out, and that was a cultural iconic movie, coming out of hip hop of the era. You're talking about 91, 92. You're talking about from 88 to 92. You're talking about a very conscious movement. And that also had an impact with me choosing Islam. My sister boyfriend, I'm the baby of the family. So all my siblings younger than me. So when you tend to have older siblings, you're trying to run with them. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to run with their friends. You know what I'm saying? But they putting you on to their music. They putting you on to their style, their fashion. You know what I'm saying? So, so my sister boyfriend, I was listening to MC Hammer at that time. At that time, if you was really into really hip hop, you really didn't mess with MC Hammer like that. But the kids love MC Hammer, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So he was listening to Poor Righteous Teachers, you know what I'm saying? X Clan, he was listening to he was listening to Tribe Called Quest. And I'm like, okay, and at that time, we was also listening to 2 Live Crew. My family's listening to 2 Live Crew. So my mom listened to 2 Live Crew. My mom, we listened to 2 Live Crew. It wasn't a thing listening to 2 Live Crew in my house. My mom playing it. We sing, rapping the lyrics. But when my sister boyfriend came in, he listened to that germ of hip hop. And I would watch the Rap Cities, you know what I'm saying, at that time. And I'm like, just looking at Rakim video, Move the Crowd. You see the 7% logo, you know what I'm saying, the Nation of Gods and Earths. And I dealt with that in high school a little bit before I converted to Islam. But just having a question, it wasn't like a specific God that I believed in. I just know it was a creator, you know what I'm saying, who a God, a creator that created creatures, you know what I'm saying, a creator that had his own creations. So it wasn't a title to things, because these things was in existence before 2,000 years ago. Trees was here 2,000 years ago, you know what I'm saying? The stars been here over 2,000 years ago. So, I was looking at it from that aspect, like, how can a man been born 2,000 years ago create this? Now, you talking about the Father and the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You could say the Father created all this, you know what I'm saying, which is a whole different story I didn't get into. But if you would say that's who I would worship, would be the Father, because he's the creator, of not only the earth, but the universe itself and whatever beyond these universes, But when I went into the military, after going to Eau Claire, that's when Wu-Tang was out. I was trying to study the lessons, you know what I'm saying? And that's when, going back to the early 90s with the Pro Righteous Teachers, and the Jungle Brothers and the X Clans, and even with Rakim, that was still installed in me. You know what I'm saying? Because even though we wasn't church going people, my household was filled with music. Whether it was like 70s, rhythm and soul, to the 80s, R&B, to 80s hip hop, to 90s hip hop. Music was, a big thing. And within hip hop, like, my mom was a young mother, so she grew along with hip hop with us. You know what I'm saying? So you're talking about 1980, you're talking about 1984, 85. She was only about 25 years old. And, 25, 20, hip hop at that time, that was her era. You know what I'm saying? So I'm listening to what else she listening to. If she listens to Ron DMC, I'm listening to him. You know what I'm saying? So you listen to Curtis Blow, her man. You know what I'm saying? That was that dude, Curtis Blow and Kumo D. That's who we, that's, and being from the South, and that's before we had on identity, in South Carolina, still trying to find an identity inside the hip hop game, which is much easier with internet now. But, going back to the religious part of that, it was more the hip hop thing that really made me aware of other religions outside of Christianity, and going to Eau Claire High School, we had a group of people that was studying the lessons, but after a while, it was more of a fad thing. And I think um, after 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 I got finished with school, I was doing my thing, and my dad got murdered back in 1999, and that's when I started going back to church. So I went to church. I was living on my own at 20. Me and my cousin was living together. I was like 20, 21 at that time when he got murdered. I was like 20 when he got murdered, and just living life. Just being introduced to manhood. You know what I'm saying? That was the era from 16 to 20. You've been introduced to manhood. So whatever comes with that, it comes with that. So going back to church, and that was like the Y2K thing going on. So everybody thought the world was gonna end when so my mom coming to my job like, you got to go to church. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'll be up there. You know what I'm saying? So and that was the same year my dad got murdered. So it was like the family was carrying it like a heavy burden at that time. So us not being as religious, I think we was trying to get closer to God as a family unit. And which, I didn't see the satisfaction. Even as a kid, I always want to get the Holy Ghost. I never got the Holy Ghost. I'm seeing the old women doing flips and yelling. I'm like, I want to get that. Like, let me get it. You know what I'm saying? But that never moved me. That never went through me like that. So when I was a young adult in my 20 years old, 21 years old, I trying to find some spiritual plane, some kind of moral base, and it wasn't until I got into the military, and I grew up with some Muslim kids, like my friends, like Orthodox Muslim, Sunni Muslim, and we had some conversations back then. I'm not going to discuss as kids. And when 9/11 happened, I was in the military, and I can't talk about a lot of stuff because a lot of that information is classified. But the next day after the World Trade Center went down, it had a face, and the face was like Bin Laden. So I'm like, God damn, this dude, you know what I'm saying? So me being cultured to a degree with being surrounded with, having Muslim friends growing up in the hood in Colombia, I'm like, ain't no way that Muslims could do this. You know what I'm saying? And, with me having a similar to a conspiracy theory mindset, but not believing everything that internet posts, you got to do on your own research. I'm like, something is behind this. But I'm seeing a lot of my military peers turning against Islam instantly. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing what Islam is, just going straight to hating something. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm not going to fall for this crowd because I know my homeboy Abdullah and my other Abdullah, my man Hassan in Colombia, his family never treated me like that. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, I was going back and forth to Canada because I was living 40 minutes away from the Canadian borderline. And we would go to certain culture centers. One thing about Canada, they have a big immigrant population. They have a big, a lot of the Afro-Canadians is second or third generation Canadians, which meaning that their parents came fresh off the boats versus us, like African Americans, we've been here for more than 3 generations. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We've been here over damn 400 years. So that's about 8-10 generations right there. So when I was in Canada, I'm meeting all these Africans and these Jamaicans, because most of the blacks is either from any country in Africa or they from any island in the Caribbean. So when you go to these functions, the Jamaicans throw the functions, which is like an all night club. They rock from sun up, sun down. We walk out 9-10 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Canada, during the summertime, the sun will set until about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So when you go in, the sun is still up when you go in the club. When you come out the club, the sun is still up. You know what I'm saying?
That's
wild.
So
you know what I'm saying? And at that time, I ran into a young lady, and I love women. So at that time, the little Erica Badu raps was in style then. The sisters was saying the little Erica Badu raps. So I ran into a little lady, very, very beautiful sister, and being from South Carolina, you know, especially in the 80s and early 90s, South Carolina wasn't as diverse as it is now. You know, you only had black and white. The Latinos came in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when we started seeing like a lot of Latino presence, you know, at least in Colombia, I could say in the late 90s, around 90, 97, 98, 99, you start seeing the Latino presence in Colombia. But still, to me, it was just black and white people. So when I was in Canada, I saw all this diversity, and we would go to these little African community centers. Each country had their own community center. Like the Nigerians had a community center, the Ethiopians, the Eritreans, like they all had their own culture centers, and they would all, like, one weekend, like, you would go to this culture center and they would play their own music, so they do their own dances, but they had their own beefs within each other too. So the wow. Nigerians fighting against the Ethiopians and everybody, or but I had nothing to do with that. But I'm just looking. I was very intrigued with the diversity and the way they move. So meeting a young lady, and just like around 9/11, she was Muslim from Eritrea, East African country. So when she invited me to her house, she still lived with her parents and her family. So, I'm telling you, after all the hardship I went through in Colombia, this was like a breath of fresh air. Just meet someone outside of what you norm, like outside of your norm. And when she introduced me to her parents and her brothers and her aunts, one thing about Africans, they really big on family unit. And one thing they big on is bringing shame to the family. And that's something that we lacking here in the African American community is, when we date people, a lot of times that chick gonna get pregnant sometime before the family even meet the dude. You know what I'm saying? So you coming home to, guess what, mom pregnant, and who the daddy is? You know what I'm saying? And with so with the African communities, like, they will be shamed and shunned from doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it's about introduce us to who you're interested with. So when she brought me to her house, her family house, it was like food from here to down yonder prepared just for me. I'm a guest. So you had like 3 or 4 cups of different drinks, sweet teas and coffees and juices, fresh squeezed juices, homemade bread. I'm like, damn, where they do that at? You know what I'm saying? So, but that was like my introduction to hospitality from Muslims outside of my friends I grew up with. Yeah. Along with all of the propaganda was going on against Islam at that time, and me being in the military at that time, I'm like, yo, like, ain't no way if they did bomb the building, they had some help with it. You know what I'm saying? And like with me being former military, I've learned and seen a lot of things that won't be able to be discussed. But that hospitality from that particular family, that particular Muslim family, really opened up my eyes, because I've always been a kind of pro-black kid, even with the Malcolm X movies been seen in 7th, 6th grade, even listening to X-Clan and the Jungle Brothers in 4th and 5th grade. I always developed some kind of black consciousness within myself at an early age. I remember one time standing on the corner with my dad on Gervais Street. And if you know anything about Columbia, Gervais Street, my family lives on Gervais Street. It's the same street that runs straight into the State House. So I could see some of the tall buildings from my grandma's porch on Gervais Street. And there's a straight shot to the State House. And I just remember back in the 80s, like all the old heads standing on the corner. My dad was one of them. So I'm, standing beside him in front of the laundromat. One of his friends came up and said, there's more black people in this world than white people. But being 4 and 5 years old, that was hard to kind of decipher, because I never left really off the front porch. You know what I'm saying? So when I got into the military and I started traveling around the world, that's when I started seeing, oh, that's what this man was talking about then. You know what I'm saying? So with the cultural things along with religion, I was always asking questions, always intrigued how other people live. You know what I'm saying? And and from that point right there, you know, I was I was always bucking back against authority, even in the military. I stayed in trouble in the military because of not having structure. And if somebody try to give me structure, I'm bucking back at them.
Yeah.
And even when I didn't want to be part of the military because I was tired of it, I'm like, man, I can't wait till my 6 years up. You know what I'm saying? But because I want to be free. And even at that time, I ended up converting to Islam based off what that family showed me, because they always invited me to their house knowing that I was a military member, and they always kept that same amount of respect. So based off what that family showed me, and based off other things that I've studied over the years, which I don't want to go back and forth with people, but from my studies and my understanding of creation, it really made me lean towards Islam. Reading the Quran and seeing the scientific the scientific discoveries that they found in the Quran really made me focus and like really lock in, and not only that, but even the discipline with the diets, what I'm saying, fasting with the diets and the modest. You may see a lot of women covered up, but the men should be covered just about as much as the women do, so just the modesty of you practicing right, it definitely has benefits and results out of that, and being in the military, traveling the world, and it really protected me from a lot of my weaknesses, what I'm saying, a lot of my inner thoughts, what I'm saying, and from going from living this particular lifestyle, being raised in this kind of household, to where I'm at right now. And, being young, I had exposure to a lot of things as a kid. I've seen a lot of things as a kid from a lot, and growing up, I'm thinking, I want to live like that. But when I got to the military and I met this particular family, so I meet other people, my man in Hawaii, Japanese dude, I'm like, there's other ways of living. What I'm saying? There's other ways of like really doing things differently than, just because your daddy did it, that means you don't have to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that means, what I'm saying? And it's hard to break these family cycles too. And not only converting to Islam, it was a family cycle I broke because no one is not Muslim in my family except my children, and I was having a conversation with my mom this morning, and we was talking about the future generations, the kids that's 18 to 20 and younger, like how the morality is fading, like it's blurred lines. Like this generation that's controlling the culture, there is no boundaries. Everything is like blurred lines. Everything from the sexualities to the genders to and one thing that we're getting back to is I'm seeing a lot of our Black people is going back to, they're not trusting no religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity or Judaism. Like they're going back to the African spiritualities now, and I'm seeing a lot of us practicing that, which is nothing wrong, because you have to know where you come from. And I'm a student of life, so I'm learning. I have learned that before. So you probably heard me talk. You probably heard me engage with a lot of my customers at the market. And I'm a kind of person, I don't know. I know I know a little bit about everything. So I'm able to talk to, I go to the White House and talk to Joe Biden, and go down the street a few blocks on Pennsylvania Ave and talk to the dope boy, and we got the same conversation, just in different contexts, and I'm able to relate to a lot of my customers, my clients, no matter what walk of life they come from. And I'm able to be sincere with that, and, and also flex my beliefs of Islam without being in somebody's face or putting down their religion. You know what I'm saying? And I went through several different stages of evolving as a Muslim. When you start to learn about the religion, it's very vast information, and it's more like I've seen a lot of people try to treat it as a sprint instead of a marathon. You could get burned out any religion. I got an incoming call. I don't know who that is, but they could wait. Probably my mom. But yeah, but we about to go ahead, and that's about it, Dan. That's about it, my man.
Okay, dope. So just to wrap this up, I want to get into the 5-question segment. So the first and last question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here. And question.
Hey, hold on, right quick. Hey, Abdul, get yourself ready. Get yourself ready for get ready to go. Yeah, I'm back.
And questions 2 through 4 are going to be 100% random. So question number 1, what were the ideal items on Carlos's school lunch tray?
Put your shoes on and stuff. But school lunch, man, like that spaghetti, like that school spaghetti, got the short noodles.
Yeah.
And got the dry chili sauce. Or we could go with there's something about that school peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't know what kind of peanut butter they use, but it comes like in a can, and you got to take the can open and open it up. Like, that's the best peanut butter I've ever taste. Probably those two things.
Word. Question number 2, what was the first live show you attended without adult supervision?
A movie, or a show, or
like a concert?
A concert, man. I could honestly say I seen LL Cool J.
You remember where you saw him at?
It was at a nightclub on Broadway Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
Broadway Road. Mm-hmm.
Question number 3. If you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
I would like to be an elephant. They have a long-term memory. They have a memory. They live for a long time, and they have a very close family unit.
It's a sharp answer right there. Question number 4. What are you most proud of your sons about?
Oh, man. My oldest son, he's a geek. He's a nerd. I love that. He loves computers. He loves robots. He loved black people, but he hate niggas. That's about it.
Word. And
my baby boy, like, I don't know. He just all over the place. He's everywhere. Yeah.
And last question. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Man. The Black Boy Art Show. Seeing a lot of black men come together, put their egos aside, respecting each other, asking questions, exchanging information. And even the younger kids that was like, didn't have themselves established as an artist, they know how to draw. And it took me back to my years of 18, 19, 20. I knew how to draw, but I didn't know how to paint. And I know how to make money off my art. I didn't know how to use it as business. But just sharing that information to these young guys who was at the Black Art Show was really everything. And I told them guys, I saw a lot of great art being sold for cheap. I said, don't sell your shit for cheap. You know what I'm saying? Word. I saw a lot of work going for $60 that should have been $200. You know what I'm saying? And I said, even if you don't sell it for $200, keep it like that. You know what I'm saying? Because don't undersell your talent.
Man, that's great that you put that in this kid's heads at a young age, man.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. So if there's anything you want to plug or promote, the floor is yours.
Nah, man. I'm about to go to work tonight, man. So I sometimes have 17-hour days, 18-hour days. I live where cotton fields at right now. I'm about to go to the port, so I'm about to head down your way right now. You catch me at the market tomorrow. But I just say, I'm living my dream at age 44. A lot of obstacles, a lot of twists and turns, but never get off course. You know what I'm saying? And just do what you love doing, always leave something positive about yourself behind. Even like you're not gonna make everybody happy, but at least leave something behind for your kids to be proud of you.
100%. And where can the people find you on social media and online?
You can find me. I do have a website. I have an online store, which is soulratcreations.com. www.sol, like soul, the sun in Spanish, SOL, space RAC, which is color spelled backwards. Soul Rack is color spelled backwards. SOLRAC creations.com. You can find me on IG with the same name, Soul Rat, and also on YouTube, same name, Soul Rat Creations, SOLRAC Creations, and you can find me on Facebook with the same thing. So I'm tell you now, lately, I don't know what's been going on, but my online sales popping. I just passed 1,000 followers on Instagram, and I've been on Instagram since 2011, and I just finally passed 1,000 people last week. Yo. I don't know what the hell going on, but it's looking good. The future looking good.
Love it, man. Man, so again, thank you so much for being a guest on the pod, man. It was so dope hearing your story and hearing your experiences.
Dan, man, Dan, I appreciate your support from the time you came back to the market. You think the first time you came to the market, I met you with the artwork, and that was a good sales day for me. And the second time that you actually do the talk show, the podcast, I really appreciate the support. And man, stay up. I love what you're doing. And we're gonna link up and do some cool stuff in the future. Word. God willing.
100%. I'm absolutely here for it. And thank you for listening. Make sure you download, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe to Since We Last Spoke. Make sure you follow my YouTube channel. You can subscribe. It's at Danny Foxworth 843. And for Carlos and myself, this has been another episode of Since We Last Spoke. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.